The crystal chandelier cast perfect light across the white tablecloth as Naomi Foster smoothed her navy dress and watched her husband check his phone for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Preston's leg bounced under the table, a tell she had learned to recognize over their 5 years of marriage. He was excited about something. "You look nice tonight," Preston said, not meeting her eyes. "I mean, you actually made an effort." Naomi's fingers tightened on her water glass, but her face remained serene. "You said this was a special dinner? I wanted to dress appropriately." "It is special." Preston's smile stretched too wide, showing too many teeth. "I have a surprise for you." The waiter appeared at their table, a young man with kind eyes and careful movements. He refilled their water glasses with steady hands. Naomi met his gaze briefly, and Jordan gave her the smallest nod. Everything was in place. "Another glass of wine, sir?" Jordan asked Preston. "Yeah, bring the whole bottle. We're celebrating." Preston laughed at some private joke. Naomi had chosen this dress specifically, the one Preston bought her for their 3rd anniversary, back when he still pretended to care. The deep navy brought out her brown skin's warmth, and she had styled her natural curls the way he once said he loved. Not because she wanted to please him, because she wanted him to remember what he was losing. Her phone buzzed in her purse. A text from Simone, "You've got this. Remember the plan." Preston's phone lit up. A message preview showed before he could hide it. "Almost there, baby. Can't wait to see her face." "So," Naomi said, taking a sip of water, "what's this surprise?" Preston leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying himself. "Someone very important to me is joining us. Someone I think you should meet." "Oh." Naomi tilted her head. "A business associate?" "You could say that." Preston's eyes gleamed. "Someone who understands me in ways you never could." There it was. The moment Naomi had been preparing for since she hired Jordan Investigations 3 weeks ago. Since she found the hotel receipts in Preston's jacket pocket. Since she discovered the secret credit card, the second phone, the emails that made her stomach turn. But Preston didn't know about any of that. He thought his wife was clueless, boring, easy to manipulate. He had no idea that the waiter, currently checking on their neighboring table, was actually documenting everything with a hidden camera. That Naomi's lawyer had divorce papers ready to file. That his entire plan was about to explode in his face. A blonde woman in a tight red dress appeared at their table. She was younger than Naomi by at least 8 years, with sharp features and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Preston." The woman leaned down to kiss his cheek, her hand lingering on his shoulder. "Candace, perfect timing." Preston gestured to the empty chair. "Sit down. I want you to meet my wife, Naomi." Naomi's heart hammered, but years of corporate presentations had taught her to control her face. She extended her hand across the table. "Hello." Candace's handshake was limp, dismissive. She slid into the chair next to Preston, close enough that their arms touched. "I've heard so much about you." "Have you?" Naomi withdrew her hand and picked up her menu. "Preston hasn't mentioned you at all." Preston's jaw tightened. This wasn't the reaction he expected. He wanted tears, shock, a scene. Instead, his wife was reading the appetizer list like nothing unusual was happening. Jordan reappeared. "Are we ready to order?" "Give us a few minutes," Preston snapped. "Of course, sir." Jordan's eyes met Naomi's again. The camera was recording. Everything Preston said, every cruel word, every smug expression, all of it being documented for the divorce proceedings. "So Naomi," Candace said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "Preston tells me you work in accounting?" "I'm a senior financial analyst for Harrison Corp," Naomi corrected. "I manage a team of 12 and handle portfolio assessments for our major clients." "Oh, that sounds complicated." Candace giggled. "I could never do something so boring." "What do you do?" Naomi asked, though she already knew. Jordan's background check had been thorough. "I'm a yoga instructor and lifestyle influencer," Candace said proudly. "I help people find their authentic selves." Preston put his hand over Candace's. "She's amazing. So free-spirited, so passionate about life." The words were meant to hurt. To make Naomi feel small, inadequate, boring. And maybe 3 weeks ago they would have. But 3 weeks ago, Naomi discovered that her free-spirited, passionate husband had been stealing from their joint accounts. That he had taken out credit cards in her name. That he was planning to leave her in debt while he started fresh with Candace. 3 weeks ago Naomi had cried. Had felt her world ending. Had wondered what she did wrong. Then she called Jordan Investigations. And everything changed. "That's wonderful," Naomi said evenly. "Preston, I assume you invited Candace here for a reason? Preston leaned forward, his expression eager now. I think it's time we were all honest with each other. Candace and I have been seeing each other for 6 months. We're in love. And I think it's time you and I had a serious conversation about our marriage. Several nearby tables had gone quiet. Other diners were pretending not to watch, but Naomi could feel their attention. Preston had chosen this restaurant specifically, public, upscale, the place where he proposed. He wanted an audience for her humiliation. I see, Naomi said. You want a divorce. I think it's best for both of us, Preston said, and Naomi almost laughed at how reasonable he was trying to sound. We've grown apart. You're always working, never fun anymore. And Candace, she makes me feel alive again. Candace beamed at him like he had just recited poetry. Naomi set down her menu. And the financial arrangements? Preston's eyes flickered. We can work that out. I'm sure we can both be reasonable. Reasonable. Like stealing $50,000 from their savings was reasonable. Like hiding a second apartment was reasonable. Like planning to stick her with his credit card debt was reasonable. Jordan returned to their table. Have we decided? I don't think I'm hungry, Naomi said, standing up smoothly. She picked up her purse and looked at Preston with a calm she didn't entirely feel. I'll sign whatever papers you want, Preston. Have your lawyer send them to me. Preston's face fell. Wait, that's it? You're not going to fight? Try to change my mind. Naomi smiled, and it was genuine. Why would I fight for someone who doesn't want me? I have too much self-respect for that. She turned to Candace. Good luck. You're going to need it. Then she walked out of the restaurant, her head high, her steps steady. Behind her, she heard Preston's confused voice asking what just happened, why she didn't cry, why she wasn't begging. He had no idea that Naomi wasn't running away. She was running toward the life she was about to build. Jordan would send her the footage tomorrow. Her lawyer would file the papers on Monday. And Preston would learn that the woman he dismissed as boring and predictable had been 10 steps ahead of him the entire time. The night air was cool on her face as Naomi climbed into her car. Her hands shook as she gripped the steering wheel, the adrenaline finally hitting. But underneath the shaking was something else. Relief. And the beginning of something that felt like freedom. 3 months earlier, Naomi had been living a completely different life. She remembered the exact moment everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in July. She was making coffee, still in her pajamas, checking her work emails on the home tablet. Preston had already left for his office at his family's construction company. The tablet chimed with a notification. Preston's phone had automatically synced to their shared devices, something he set up years ago and apparently forgot about. A message preview appeared at the top of the screen. Last night was incredible, baby. I'm still thinking about you. Can't wait for this weekend when we have the whole place to ourselves. The message was from a contact labeled "See Work." Naomi's coffee mug paused halfway to her lips. Her first thought was innocent, maybe a coworker excited about a project. Preston managed several construction sites. He worked with lots of people. But something made her tap the notification. Maybe the word "baby." Maybe the phrase "whole place to ourselves." The messages opened and Naomi's entire world tilted. Months of conversations. Explicit photos. Plans for hotel visits. A message from Preston saying, "My wife has no idea. She's so caught up in her boring job, she barely notices when I'm gone." Naomi set down her coffee mug carefully. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was steady. Everything was steady except the floor, which seemed to be dropping away beneath her feet. She scrolled back through the messages. 6 months of an affair. The woman's name was Candace. She was a yoga instructor Preston met at a gym near one of his construction sites. But the messages about the affair weren't what made Naomi's blood run cold. It was the other messages. The ones about money. Preston to Candace, "Just moved another $10K from our savings. She never checks the statements. Too busy with her spreadsheets." Candace to Preston, "You're so smart, baby. Make sure you get everything before you tell her." Preston to Candace, "Already opened 3 credit cards in her name. She's going to be so screwed when I leave." Naomi clicked over to their banking app. Logged into their joint savings account. The account that should have had $60,000. Money they were saving for a house. The balance showed $8,300. She checked their joint checking. Their mortgage payment had bounced. There were overdraft fees. With shaking hands now, Naomi pulled up her credit report. 3 new credit cards she never opened. All maxed out. All in her name. $45,000 in debt she didn't know existed. Preston was planning to leave her. And he was planning to leave her broke. Naomi sat at the kitchen table for a long time. The coffee grew cold. The sun moved across the floor. Her phone rang 3 times, work calling, probably wondering where she was. She didn't answer. Part of her wanted to scream, to throw things, to call Preston and rage at him, to drive to his office and confront him in front of everyone. But another part of her, the part that had built a career analyzing financial risks, that had climbed from entry-level analyst to senior management through careful strategy, that part started thinking. If she confronted Preston now, what would happen? He would deny it. What? Maybe get better at hiding things. Maybe accelerate his timeline and leave immediately, sticking her with all the debt before she could protect herself. No. Confrontation wasn't the answer. Naomi pulled out her laptop. She started searching. What to do when spouse is hiding money. How to prove financial fraud in divorce. Protecting assets during separation. One result kept appearing: hire a private investigator before filing for divorce. Naomi found a firm with good reviews, Jordan Investigations. She called the number and a professional voice answered. Jordan Investigations. This is Jordan Martinez speaking. I need help, Naomi said, and then she told the whole story. Jordan listened without interrupting. When Naomi finished, Jordan's voice was kind but firm. First, don't confront him. Don't let him know you know anything. Can you do that? Yes, Naomi said, surprised by how calm she sounded. Good. Second, we need to document everything. I'll need you to photograph or screenshot all those messages. Every credit card statement, every bank record. Can you access his email? His phone syncs to our home devices. Perfect. We'll use that. Third, you need to protect yourself financially. Do you have any money that's just yours? Naomi thought. My grandmother left me an inheritance. $50,000. It's in our joint savings. Her voice cracked. Was in our joint savings. Check if that's included in what he took. If it is, we'll add theft of inheritance to the evidence. Do you have any accounts in just your name? No. Preston said married couples should share everything. Of course he did. Jordan's tone was dry. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Open a new account at a different bank just in your name. If you have any money coming in, your paycheck, anything, start routing it there. We need to build you a safety net. Over the next week, Naomi followed Jordan's instructions exactly. She photographed everything, saved everything, created folders on a private cloud account Preston couldn't access. Jordan's investigation found even more. Preston had a second apartment across town. He had been taking Candace on trips, charging them to credit cards in Naomi's name. He had emails to a divorce lawyer asking how to maximize his settlement and minimize what she gets. But the worst discovery came 10 days into the investigation. Jordan called Naomi at work. I need you to sit down. Naomi closed her office door. What did you find? Preston's been embezzling from his family's construction company, using company funds to pay for his lifestyle with Candace. The amounts suggest he's been doing it for over a year, maybe longer. His own family's business? And setting it up to look like accounting errors that could be traced to you if anyone looked closely. Your name is on some of the vendor accounts he set up. He's been planning this for a long time, Naomi. Naomi pressed her palm to her forehead. So when he leaves me, I get blamed for the theft too? That's what it looks like. But here's the thing, we have evidence of what he's really doing. Time-stamped photos, video surveillance from the apartment building, paper trails. We can prove this was all him. What do I do? We keep gathering evidence. We wait until we have everything we need. Then we move fast and we move all at once. He's planning something big, I can tell from his messages. He wants to humiliate you publicly before filing for divorce. Probably trying to make you look like the bad guy to justify leaving. Naomi's hands clenched. So I just wait? Pretend everything is normal? Can you do that? Naomi thought about the life she had built. The career she worked for. The reputation she had earned. The money she saved that Preston stole. Yes, she said. I can do that. And for the next 2.5 months she did. She went to work, came home, made dinner, asked Preston about his day, smiled when he lied to her face about working late, acted oblivious when he came home smelling like another woman's perfume. All while Jordan's investigation built an airtight case. All while Naomi saved every penny she could in her secret account. All while she prepared for the moment Preston would make his move. She didn't have to wait long. 2 weeks ago, Preston came home with flowers and a smile. Let's go to dinner Friday night. Somewhere nice. Our anniversary is coming up and I want to do something special. Their anniversary wasn't for another month. But Naomi just smiled and said, "That sounds wonderful." Jordan confirmed Preston made reservations at the restaurant where he proposed. For 3 people. "This is it," Jordan told her. "This is his big moment. He's going to introduce you to his mistress in public. Probably thinks you'll make a scene, and then he can paint you as crazy when he files for divorce." "So what do we do?" Jordan smiled. "We let him think he's winning. And we document every second of it." Naomi stood in front of her bathroom mirror, practicing her expression. Calm. Unbothered. The woman looking back at her had steady eyes and a slight smile. She looked nothing like she felt inside. "You're doing it again," Simone said from the doorway of the bedroom. Simone had been Naomi's best friend since college, and she was the only person besides Jordan who knew the full story. "Doing what?" "Trying to control everything, including your face." Simone walked over and put her hands on Naomi's shoulders. "You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to fall apart a little." "Not yet." Naomi turned away from the mirror. "If I fall apart now, I won't be able to do what needs to be done." It had been 6 weeks since she hired Jordan. 6 weeks of living a double life. During the day she was the perfect wife, cooking Preston's favorite meals, ironing his shirts, asking about his construction projects. At night, after he fell asleep or left for one of his business meetings, she documented everything. Jordan had taught her how to be strategic. How to photograph documents without Preston noticing they had been moved. How to forward emails to her private account without leaving traces. How to be invisible while watching everything. The evidence was damning and growing every day. Preston's affair with Candace was extensive. Jordan had surveillance photos of them together at restaurants, hotels, the second apartment. They were careless, arrogant, certain they wouldn't be caught. But the financial fraud was worse than Naomi initially discovered. Jordan's forensic accountant contact found that Preston had been systematically draining their accounts for 8 months. Every time Naomi's paycheck deposited, Preston transferred most of it to hidden accounts. He kept just enough in their joint checking to cover bills and avoid suspicion. The credit cards in Naomi's name now totaled $62,000 in debt. Preston had used them for everything: jewelry for Candace, trips to expensive resorts, furnishing the second apartment. Most devastating, Naomi's inheritance from her grandmother was completely gone. Preston had taken all $50,000, every cent of the money her grandmother saved to make sure Naomi would be secure. "I'm going to make him pay for this," Naomi said quietly. Simone squeezed her shoulder. "I know you will. But first we need to protect you." That was the other part of Jordan's plan, building Naomi's financial safety net. Simone had helped Naomi open a new bank account at a different institution, one Preston had no connection to. Naomi changed her paycheck direct deposit, claiming to HR that she wanted to try a new bank with better interest rates. She started moving small amounts of money from their joint account, amounts Preston wouldn't notice, into her private savings. She also documented every penny she moved, every transaction, keeping perfect records. If this went to court, she wanted to prove she only took what was rightfully hers. Jordan helped her find a lawyer specializing in high-conflict divorces. Attorney Rebecca Chin. Actually, I need to revise this. The user said no to the name Chin. Let me fix that. Jordan helped her find a lawyer specializing in high-conflict divorces. Attorney Rebecca Walsh was known for aggressive representation in cases involving financial fraud. "The evidence you've gathered is excellent," Rebecca told Naomi during their first consultation. "But we need more before we file. We need to prove pattern and intent. Right now, he could claim the credit cards were a misunderstanding, that you knew about the accounts. How do I prove intent? Keep documenting. Let him continue making mistakes. The more arrogant he gets, the more evidence we'll have. And if possible, we need him to admit his plan on record." That was harder. Preston was careful in text messages, usually using vague language. But Jordan had an idea. "What if we set up a situation where he feels safe bragging about his plan?" Jordan suggested. "Somewhere he thinks he won't be overheard?" They decided to use the home tablet. Preston still didn't realize it synced with his phone. If they could get him to have a detailed conversation with Candace about his strategy, the recording would be admissible evidence. Naomi started leaving the tablet in the kitchen, volume low but recording enabled. For 3 days nothing useful came through. Then, on the 4th night, Preston called Candace from his car in the driveway. Naomi listened through her headphones in the bedroom, her heart pounding as Preston's voice came through clearly. "She has no idea what's coming," Preston laughed. "I've got it all planned out. Take her to Meridian, that fancy place where I proposed. Let her think it's some romantic gesture. Then you show up. Candace's voice. Are you sure about this? Seems risky. Trust me. I want witnesses. I want people to see her reaction when I introduce you as my girlfriend. She'll lose it, make a scene, and then everyone will understand why I'm leaving her. What about the money? All taken care of. The credit cards are in her name, the debt is her problem. I've got everything important moved to accounts she doesn't know about. By the time she realizes what happened, I'll be gone. What if she fights you in court? With what money? She's broke. I made sure of that. And even if she tries, I've got the better lawyer. Plus, once the company audit happens and they find the mistakes in the books, she'll be too busy defending herself from embezzlement charges to come after me. Naomi's hands shook so hard she almost dropped her phone. He was planning to frame her for stealing from his family's company. Preston continued, after the divorce we can take that trip to Bali you wanted. Start fresh. Maybe even get married if you want. I love you, Candace cooed. Love you too, baby. This is all going to work out perfectly. Trust me. Naomi stopped the recording and sent it immediately to Jordan and Rebecca. Rebecca called her 15 minutes later. This is exactly what we needed. He admitted to fraud, admitted to framing you, admitted his entire strategy. Combined with everything else, we have an airtight case. What happens now? Now we wait for him to make his move. Let him take you to that dinner. Let him introduce his mistress. Get it all on record. Then we hit him with everything at once. Divorce papers, fraud charges, evidence of embezzlement. We'll move to freeze his assets before he can hide anything else. What about his plan to blame me for the company theft? We'll send our evidence to his family's company directly, along with the prosecutor's office. They'll investigate him, not you. Your documentation proves you had no access to company finances. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi prepared. She worked with Simone to organize all her important documents: birth certificate, social security card, passport. She packed a bag with essentials and left it at Simone's apartment, just in case Preston became violent when he was served papers. She met with Rebecca to review the divorce petition. It included requests for full restitution of stolen funds, compensation for emotional distress, and all marital assets due to Preston's fraud. Jordan arranged to work undercover at the restaurant. The investigation firm had a connection with Meridian's catering company and could get Jordan placed as temporary staff for that night. I'll be your waiter, Jordan explained. I'll have a camera hidden in my uniform. We'll document everything, his words, his expressions, how he treats you. All of it. What if he recognizes you? He won't. We've never met in person. And you've been careful about our phone calls, right? Naomi nodded. All her calls with Jordan happened during her lunch break at work or when Preston was out with Candace. The night before the dinner, Simone came over after Preston left for another late meeting. Are you ready for this? Simone asked, sitting on Naomi's bed. I don't know. Naomi pulled the navy dress from her closet, the one Preston bought her for their 3rd anniversary. Part of me wants to just serve him papers now. Skip the whole dinner humiliation. But Rebecca says the video evidence of him publicly humiliating me will help in court. Judges don't like cruelty. And if I can stay calm while he's trying to break me, it shows emotional stability. Makes me look like the reasonable one. Simone touched the dress fabric. This is the one he got you? Yes. I'm wearing it on purpose. I want him to remember what he had. What he's losing. You're stronger than I would be. I'd have thrown all his clothes on the lawn by now. Naomi smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm not strong, Simone. I'm terrified. What if I can't hold it together? What if I break down in front of everyone? Then you break down. You're human. But I know you, Naomi. When it matters, you're steel. You're going to walk in there tomorrow, and you're going to show him exactly who he messed with. Naomi hung the dress on the back of her door. I keep thinking about everything I missed. How did I not see this coming? Because you trusted him. Because you're not a suspicious person. Because you were busy building a career and a life. Simone shook her head. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. But sometimes late at night, Naomi wondered. Had she been too focused on work? Too distant? Had she driven Preston away? Then she would remember the recordings. The way he laughed about stealing from her. The way he called her boring and stupid. The way he planned to frame her for crimes he committed. No. This wasn't about anything she did or didn't do. This was about Preston being cruel. Being selfish. Being willing to destroy her for his own gain. And tomorrow, he would learn that the woman he underestimated was about to destroy him right back. Friday arrived with clear skies and cool temperatures. Naomi called in sick to work, unable to face her colleagues while preparing for the evening ahead. She spent the morning in Simone's apartment, too anxious to stay home. Eat something, Simone pushed a plate of toast toward her. I can't. My stomach is in knots. You need energy. Tonight is going to be draining. Simone sat across from her at the small kitchen table. Walk me through the plan one more time. Naomi recited it like a script. I arrive at 7. Preston will already be there. Jordan is working as our waiter and will be recording everything. When Candace arrives, I stay calm. I don't make a scene. I let Preston say whatever he's going to say. Then I leave with dignity. And after? Rebecca files the divorce papers first thing Monday morning, along with evidence of the fraud. Jordan submits our documentation to the prosecutor's office and to Preston's family company. His assets get frozen. I move forward with my life. Simone reached across the table and squeezed Naomi's hand. You've got this. At 5 o'clock, Naomi went home to get ready. Preston wasn't there. He had texted that he was running errands and would meet her at the restaurant. Probably coordinating with Candace, Naomi thought. She showered, did her makeup carefully and styled her hair. The woman in the mirror looked put together, confident. She looked nothing like the woman who had cried in this same bathroom 6 weeks ago after discovering her husband's betrayal. The navy dress fit perfectly. Naomi added simple gold earrings and her grandmother's bracelet, the only piece of her inheritance Preston hadn't managed to sell. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. In position. Everything is ready. Another text from Rebecca. Remember, stay calm. Don't let him provoke you. Everything he says is evidence. And finally, Simone, you're a queen. Go show him what he lost. Naomi drove to Meridian Restaurant in her own car. She had insisted on that, telling Preston she was coming from a work event. Really, she wanted her own exit strategy. Wanted to be able to leave on her own terms. The restaurant glowed against the evening sky, all glass walls and elegant lighting. Naomi had loved this place once. Preston proposed here on the outdoor terrace overlooking the city. She had been so happy that night. So certain of their future. Now the building just looked like a stage for another one of Preston's performances. She valeted her car and walked through the entrance. The host greeted her warmly. Mrs. Foster, your husband is already at your table. Right this way. Naomi followed him through the dining room. Other couples looked happy, celebrating anniversaries or birthdays. Normal people having normal dinners. None of them knew they were about to witness something ugly. Preston sat at a corner table, checking his phone. He looked up as Naomi approached, and his expression shifted through several emotions. Surprise at how good she looked, pleasure that his plan was working, and something that might have been guilt before he pushed it away. Naomi, you look nice. Thank you. She slid into the chair across from him, setting her purse carefully beside her. You said this was a special dinner. It is. Preston signaled for the waiter, and Jordan appeared at their table. Naomi met his eyes briefly, saw the small camera hidden in his vest pocket. Good evening, Jordan said smoothly. Can I start you with drinks? Preston ordered wine. Naomi asked for water. Her mouth was too dry for anything else. You seem tense, Preston observed after Jordan left. Long week at work, Naomi lied. How are the construction projects going? Fine. Good. Actually, Preston leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying himself. I have some news. Some changes coming. Oh. Big changes. Life changes. His phone buzzed and he smiled at the screen. In fact, those changes are about to walk through that door. Naomi's heartbeat thundered in her ears, but she kept her face neutral. What do you mean? You'll see. Preston's leg bounced under the table again. He was almost giddy. Jordan returned with their drinks. Naomi took a long sip of water, the ice cold against her tongue. She needed to stay present, stay focused. Across the restaurant, the entrance door opened. A blonde woman in a tight red dress scanned the room. Candace. Even from a distance, Naomi recognized her from Jordan's surveillance photos. There she is, Preston said, half standing and waving. Candace's heels clicked across the floor. She was younger than Naomi expected, with sharp features and calculating eyes. She walked like someone used to being watched, her movements deliberate. Preston. Candace leaned down and kissed his cheek, her hand lingering on his shoulder. The gesture was possessive, performative. Preston pulled out the chair next to him. Candace, this is Naomi. My wife. The way he said, "my wife," made it clear it wouldn't be true much longer. Naomi extended her hand. "Hello, Candace." Candace's handshake was brief, dismissive. Her eyes traveled over Naomi's dress, her jewelry, assessing and judging. "I've heard so much about you." "Funny," Naomi said evenly. "Preston hasn't mentioned you at all." Preston's jaw tightened. He wanted a reaction. Tears, anger, something dramatic. Instead, his wife was treating this like a business meeting. Jordan appeared again. "Are we ready to order?" "Give us a few minutes," Preston said curtly. "Of course." Jordan's eyes met Naomi's, a silent question. She gave a tiny nod. "I'm okay. Keep recording." Candace settled into her chair, sitting close to Preston. "So, Naomi, Preston tells me you work in finance?" "I'm a senior financial analyst." Naomi kept her voice level. "I manage risk assessment for major corporate accounts." "That sounds complicated." Candace's smile was patronizing. "I could never do something so stressful. I prefer work that feeds the soul, you know? I teach yoga and promote wellness on social media." "How nice for you." Naomi took another sip of water. Preston put his hand over Candace's on the table. The gesture was deliberate, meant to hurt. "Candace has over 50,000 followers. She's really building something special." "Impressive," Naomi said, though she knew from Jordan's investigation that Candace had bought most of those followers. Preston leaned forward, his expression shifting to something resembling seriousness. "Naomi, I asked you here tonight because I think it's time we were honest with each other." "Here it comes," Naomi thought. The speech he's been rehearsing. "Our marriage hasn't been working for a long time," Preston continued. "You're always buried in work, never present, never really there. I've been lonely. And then I met Candace." He squeezed her hand, and she showed me what real connection feels like. Nearby tables were starting to notice. Conversations quieted. People were trying not to stare while obviously listening. "We're in love," Candace added as if Naomi had asked. "What Preston and I have is real. Soul deep." Naomi watched them, these two people who had been sneaking around for months, stealing from her, planning her destruction. They looked so pleased with themselves. So certain they were the heroes in this story. "So you want a divorce?" Naomi said flatly. Preston nodded. "I think it's what's best. For both of us. You can focus on your career. That's clearly what matters most to you. And I can build a life with someone who actually appreciates me." The implied criticism hung in the air. This was all Naomi's fault. She drove him away with her ambition, her boring personality, her failure to be exciting enough. "I see." Naomi set down her water glass. "And the financial arrangements?" Preston waved his hand dismissively. "We can work that out. I'm sure we can both be reasonable adults about this." Reasonable. The word almost made her laugh. There was nothing reasonable about $50,000 in stolen inheritance. Nothing reasonable about credit card fraud. Nothing reasonable about embezzlement. But Naomi just nodded. "When do you want to do this?" Preston looked confused. "Do what?" "File for divorce. You obviously have this planned out." Well, I thought we could take some time. Figure out the details." Translation. He wanted more time to hide assets, to cover his tracks, to make sure she ended up with nothing. "No," Naomi said simply. Preston blinked. "No. I won't drag this out. If you want a divorce, we'll do it properly. Legally. I'll sign whatever papers you want." She stood up, picking up her purse. "Have your lawyer contact mine." "Wait." Preston stood too, his face reddening. This wasn't the script he had planned. "You have a lawyer already?" "I'm a senior financial analyst, Preston. I understand the importance of legal representation in major life changes." Naomi's voice was calm, professional. "I'll expect to hear from your attorney by the end of next week." She turned to Candace, who looked as confused as Preston. "Candace, I genuinely wish you the best of luck. You're going to need it." Then she walked toward the exit, her spine straight, her head high. Behind her, she heard Preston's raised voice. "That's it? You're not going to fight? You're just giving up?" Naomi didn't turn around. She handed her valet ticket to the attendant and waited in the cool evening air. Through the restaurant's glass wall, she could see Preston and Candace arguing. He was gesturing wildly, clearly frustrated. This wasn't the dramatic scene he wanted. No tears. No begging. No public breakdown that would justify his cruelty. Just his wife, calmly walking away from him. The valet brought her car. Naomi tipped him and slid behind the wheel. Her hands shook as she gripped the steering wheel. The adrenaline was catching up to her now, making her whole body tremble. But she had done it. She had sat through Preston's humiliation attempt without falling apart. She had stayed calm while he paraded his mistress in front of her. She had given Jordan everything he needed on camera. And Monday morning, Preston was going to discover that his boring, predictable wife had been 10 steps ahead of him the entire time. Naomi pulled out her phone and called Simone. "How did it go?" Simone answered immediately. "I didn't cry," Naomi said, and then she started laughing. It was slightly hysterical laughter, the kind that borders on crying, but it was real. "I didn't cry, Simone. I just walked out. That's my girl. Come over. We're opening the expensive wine. I'm on my way." As Naomi drove through the city streets, she felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, the hurt was still there, but underneath it all was something new. Power. For 6 weeks she had been gathering weapons, evidence, documentation, strategy. And now she was ready to use them all. Preston thought he had won tonight. He thought he had broken her. But he had no idea the war was just beginning. The morning after the dinner, Naomi woke early in Simone's guest room. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from Preston and 7 text messages. The text started apologetic. "We should talk about last night. I didn't mean for it to go that way." Then confused, "Why aren't you answering? We need to discuss this like adults." Finally angry, "You're being childish. Call me back." Naomi deleted them all without responding. Let him wonder. Let him worry. Simone knocked on the door carrying 2 mugs of coffee. "He's been calling?" 8 times. Naomi accepted the coffee gratefully. "He's confused because I didn't react the way he wanted." "Good. Keep him off balance." Simone sat on the edge of the bed. "What's the timeline?" "Rebecca files the divorce papers Monday morning. Jordan submits all our evidence to the prosecutor and to Preston's family company. We hit him with everything at once." "What about today?" "Today I go home, pack what I need, and move out. I'm not spending another night in that house." Simone squeezed her hand. "You can stay here as long as you need." By 10 o'clock, Naomi was back at the house she had shared with Preston for 3 years. His car wasn't in the driveway, probably at Candace's apartment, Naomi thought. She moved quickly, packing clothes, important documents, and a few personal items. She left her wedding ring on the kitchen counter with a simple note, "You can have this back." As she was loading the last box into her car, a vehicle pulled into the driveway. Preston's BMW. He climbed out, his expression uncertain. "Naomi, wait. We need to talk." "I don't think there's anything to say." She closed her trunk. Preston moved between her and the driver's door. "Last night was... I handled it badly. I shouldn't have brought Candace to dinner like that." "No, you shouldn't have." Naomi kept her voice even. "But it's done now. Move, please. I need to leave." "Where are you going?" "That's not your concern anymore." Preston's face shifted from apologetic to irritated. "Don't be dramatic. So I made a mistake. We can work through this." Naomi stared at him. "Work through what, exactly? You brought your mistress to dinner. You told me you want a divorce. I'm giving you what you want. I didn't think you'd just give up." There it was. The truth. He didn't want her to fight because he loved her. He wanted her to fight so he could feel important, so he could enjoy rejecting her again and again. "I have too much self-respect to beg someone to stay who doesn't want me," Naomi said. "Now move." Preston stepped aside slowly. "You're making a mistake. You think you can make it on your own? With your salary? You need me." Naomi almost laughed. Her salary was higher than his. Always had been. But Preston had convinced himself otherwise, or maybe convinced himself it didn't matter. "I'll be fine," she said, getting into her car. "Your lawyer should contact mine next week." "I don't have a lawyer yet." "Then you should probably get one." Naomi started the engine. "Goodbye, Preston." She drove away without looking back, watching him shrink in her rearview mirror. He stood in the driveway looking lost and angry, like a child whose toy had been taken away. Monday morning came bright and cold. Naomi wore her best suit to work. Navy blue, perfectly tailored, the outfit that made her feel powerful. She needed that power today. At 9 o'clock Rebecca called. "The papers are filed. Preston should be served by noon." "What happens then?" "He'll have 30 days to respond. But based on everything we discussed, I expect his lawyer will want to negotiate settlement rather than go to trial. The evidence against him is overwhelming." "What about the criminal charges?" "That's separate. Jordan submitted everything to the prosecutor's office this morning. They'll review and decide whether to pursue embezzlement and fraud charges. Given the amount of money involved and the clear paper trail, I'd say it's likely. And his family's company? Jordan sent them a detailed report of Preston's theft from their accounts. I imagine they'll want to conduct their own investigation. At 12:15, Preston called Naomi's cell phone. She didn't answer, but he left a voicemail. What the hell did you do? Some guy just served me with divorce papers at my office. In front of everyone. And they're saying I committed fraud? This is insane. Call me back right now. Naomi saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Rebecca. Evidence of his reaction. An hour later, Preston called again. This time his voice was different, scared. Naomi, please. We need to talk. There's been a misunderstanding. Those credit cards, I can explain. Just call me back. Please. By 3 o'clock, Naomi's phone was flooded with messages. Preston begging her to drop the charges. Preston claiming he was going to lose his job. Preston saying she was ruining his life. She forwarded everything to Rebecca and turned off her phone. That evening, Simone came home from work with takeout and news. You're not going to believe this. Preston called me. What? He's desperate. He wanted me to convince you to talk to him. Said this is all a big misunderstanding. Simone opened the Thai food containers. I told him to lose my number. Did he say anything about Candace? Oh, that's the best part. She dumped him. Naomi looked up from her noodles. What? Apparently once she found out he was being investigated for embezzlement and fraud, she decided he wasn't worth the trouble. Blocked his number and everything. Naomi felt a surge of satisfaction. So much for soul-deep love. Right? Her social media is already scrubbed of any mention of him. I checked. Simone pulled out her phone. Look, she posted this yesterday. The post showed Candace doing a yoga pose on a beach, with a caption about releasing toxic energy and embracing new beginnings. She didn't waste any time, Naomi observed. People like her never do. She was with Preston for money and status. Once those dried up, she was gone. Over the next week, Naomi watched Preston's life crumble from a distance. Rebecca kept her updated on the legal proceedings. Preston had hired a lawyer, but the attorney was already suggesting Preston accept a settlement rather than fight. The evidence is too strong, Rebecca explained during one of their calls. Your documentation is perfect. The recordings, the paper trails, Jordan's investigation. There's no way to dispute what Preston did. His lawyer knows if this goes to trial, Preston will lose everything and probably face jail time. What kind of settlement are we looking at? Full restitution of your stolen funds, including your inheritance. Division of marital assets in your favor given his fraud. Possibly even compensation for emotional distress. His lawyer is scrambling to make this go away quietly. And the criminal charges? The prosecutor is moving forward. Preston took over $200,000 from his family's company over 18 months. They have evidence of him creating fake vendor accounts, forging signatures, manipulating the books. That's serious prison time if convicted. Naomi should have felt triumphant. Instead she felt tired. Set. Not for Preston, he deserved everything coming to him. But for the life she thought she had. For the years wasted on someone who never valued her. Are you okay? Rebecca asked gently. I will be, Naomi said. I just need time. 2 weeks after the dinner, Naomi met Jordan for coffee to review the final pieces of evidence. They sat in a quiet corner of a cafe near her office. How are you holding up? Jordan asked. Better than I expected. Worse than I'd like. Naomi stirred sugar into her coffee. Thank you for everything you did. The investigation, the recording at the restaurant. All of it. Just doing my job. Jordan pushed a folder across the table. This is for you. Copies of everything we gathered. In case you ever need it. Naomi opened the folder, seeing months of evidence neatly organized. Photos, bank statements, transcripts of conversations. Her entire case against Preston in one package. His family filed their own lawsuit against him, Jordan mentioned. Civil suit to recover the money he stole from them. They're not messing around. Good. Naomi closed the folder. He needs to face consequences for all of it. Between the divorce, the criminal charges, and his family's lawsuit, Preston is looking at losing everything. His job, his reputation, possibly his freedom. Do you think I'm being too harsh? Naomi heard herself ask. Jordan looked at her seriously. Naomi, that man stole your grandmother's inheritance. He committed fraud in your name. He planned to frame you for embezzlement. He took you to dinner specifically to humiliate you in public. Nothing you're doing to him is harsh. This is justice. Naomi nodded slowly. You're right. Sometimes I wonder if I should have tried to work things out. If there was something I could have done differently. No. Jordan's voice was firm. This is not about anything you did or didn't do. Preston made deliberate choices to hurt you. He planned it, celebrated it, laughed about it with his mistress. The recordings prove that. You're not the villain here. After their meeting, Naomi walked back to her office building. The afternoon sun was warm on her face. Around her, the city moved at its usual pace. People rushing to meetings, talking on phones, grabbing coffee. Life was continuing. The world didn't stop because her marriage ended. And slowly, painfully, Naomi was learning that she could continue too. The envelope arrived on a Monday morning. Naomi stood in Simone's kitchen, staring at the return address, the office of the district attorney. Open it, Simone urged. Naomi's hands shook slightly as she tore the seal. The letter was formal, typed on official letterhead. Dear Miss Foster, this letter is to inform you that our office has reviewed the evidence submitted regarding financial fraud committed by Preston Foster. We have determined that there is sufficient evidence to pursue criminal charges including embezzlement, identity theft, and fraud. They're prosecuting him, Naomi said, her voice barely above a whisper. Simone read over her shoulder. They want you to testify? If it goes to trial. They're offering Preston a plea deal first, admission of guilt, restitution, and a reduced sentence. Naomi set the letter on the counter. This is real. This is actually happening. Over the past 3 weeks, Naomi had moved through her days in a strange fog. Working, sleeping, eating, all the normal activities felt distant, like she was watching someone else's life. But this letter made everything sharp and real again. Her phone rang. Rebecca. You got the letter from the DA? Rebecca asked. Just now. Good. I wanted to explain what it means. The prosecution is moving forward with criminal charges. They have a strong case. Preston's lawyer has already reached out asking about a plea deal. What does that mean for the divorce? It makes our case even stronger. If Preston pleads guilty to fraud and embezzlement in criminal court, he can't really argue against it in divorce proceedings. We're looking at a very favorable settlement for you. How favorable? Full return of your inheritance funds. Division of all marital assets 60-40 in your favor. Preston pays all divorce legal fees. Plus compensation for the credit card debt he accumulated in your name. He'll have to pay that off. Naomi sat down slowly. That's more than I expected. It's what you deserve. Preston's lawyer knows if this goes to court, Preston will be destroyed. They want to settle fast and quiet. What about his family's lawsuit? That's separate. They're suing him for the money he stole from their company. That's on top of everything else. After hanging up with Rebecca, Naomi called her boss and asked for the afternoon off. She needed to process this. Needed to breathe. She drove to the park near her old neighborhood. Not close enough to risk seeing Preston, but familiar enough to feel grounding. She sat on a bench overlooking a small lake, watching ducks paddle across the water. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Please talk to me. I'm sorry. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. I love you. Preston. He must have gotten a new phone or was using someone else's. Naomi blocked the number without responding. 5 minutes later, another text from a different number. My lawyer says you're asking for too much. Be reasonable. We both made mistakes in this marriage. The audacity made her laugh out loud. Both made mistakes? She worked hard, paid bills, and stayed faithful. His mistakes included theft, fraud, and public humiliation. She blocked that number too. That evening, Simone came home to find Naomi cooking dinner. Actually cooking, not just reheating takeout. Look at you, Simone said, dropping her work bag. This is progress. Rebecca called with an update. Preston's lawyer wants to settle. They're offering almost everything we asked for. That's amazing. Simone hugged her. Why don't you look happier? I don't know. I thought I'd feel victorious. Instead, I just feel empty. Simone pulled back, studying her friend's face. You're grieving. The marriage might have been bad, but you still lost something. That's normal. I keep thinking about the good times. Early in our relationship, before things got bad. He wasn't always like this. Maybe not. But he became this. And that's what matters. Naomi stirred the pasta sauce. Do you think I'm being too vindictive? Going after him so hard? Absolutely not. He tried to destroy you financially and emotionally. You're just making sure he faces consequences. Preston's father called me yesterday. Simone's eyes widened. What did he want? To apologize. He had no idea Preston was stealing from the company. He said they trusted him with financial management and he abused that trust. Naomi poured pasta into boiling water. He asked if I knew about the theft. What did you tell him? The truth. That I only discovered everything 3 months ago. That Preston kept me completely separate from his family's business finances. He believed me, I think because I gave him all the evidence Jordan collected. How did he react? He was devastated. Said he felt like he didn't know his own son. Asked me if there was any chance of reconciliation. Simone's jaw dropped. He wanted you to take Preston back? I think he was hoping I could be a good influence. Help Preston get back on track. Naomi drained the pasta. I told him that wasn't possible. That Preston needed to face the consequences of his actions and I needed to build a new life. Good answer. Over dinner they talked about next steps. Naomi's divorce settlement would give her enough money to put a down payment on her own place. She was looking at condos in a different part of the city, somewhere with no memories of Preston. Have you thought about dating? Simone asked carefully. God, no. I can barely handle being alone. I'm not ready to be with someone new. Fair. But eventually, maybe. Right now I just want to focus on myself. My career, my healing, my life. Simone raised her wine glass. To new beginnings. Naomi clinked her glass against Simone's. To new beginnings. 3 days later Rebecca called with news. Preston accepted the settlement offer. It's done. Naomi sat down heavily. Just like that. Just like that. He signs the papers tomorrow, admits fault, and you get everything we negotiated. The divorce will be final in 60 days. What about the criminal charges? He's taking a plea deal there too. Admits guilt, pays full restitution to his family's company, serves 18 months in prison, 3 years probation. Prison. The word felt heavy. Naomi, he stole over $200,000. He committed fraud in your name. This is appropriate. I know. It's just strange. 3 months ago I was married. Now my husband is going to prison. Ex-husband soon. And he put himself there with his choices. After the call, Naomi sat in Simone's apartment, processing. It was over. Really over. Preston had signed away his rights to fight her, admitted his crimes, accepted his punishment. She should feel relieved, triumphant. Instead she felt numb. That evening she wrote Preston an email. Not to send, just to process her feelings. Preston, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't know if I'll ever send it. But I need to say these things even if just to myself. You broke me. Not completely but close enough. You took the woman who loved you and trusted you and you tried to destroy her. You stole from me. Lied to me. Planned my humiliation like it was a game. I hope prison gives you time to think about what you did. I hope you understand someday that real love doesn't involve cruelty. That real partnership doesn't involve theft. But mostly, I hope I never have to think about you again. I'm going to build a life so beautiful, so full, so complete that our marriage will be nothing but a footnote. A brief chapter in my story that I survived and moved past. You wanted to break me. Instead, you freed me. And I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful for that. Goodbye, Preston. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. But you won't find it with me. Naomi deleted the email without saving it. She didn't need to send it. Didn't need Preston to know she had moved on. She just needed to actually move on. And for the first time since discovering his betrayal, she believed she could. 6 months had passed since the dinner. 6 months since Preston's life imploded. Naomi tracked his downfall through updates from Rebecca and occasional news articles. The first domino, Preston lost his position at his family's construction company. His father and brothers held a meeting, reviewed the evidence, and voted unanimously to remove him. They filed a civil lawsuit to recover the stolen funds plus damages. The second domino, Preston's plea deal in criminal court. He stood before a judge, admitted to embezzlement and fraud, and received 18 months in prison plus restitution orders. The local business journal ran a story with the headline, Construction Company Heir Sentenced in Fraud Case. The third domino, Candace's life fell apart too. Her husband, a detail Preston apparently never mentioned to Naomi, filed for divorce after receiving Jordan's anonymous package of evidence. Candace lost her house, her marriage, and most of her social media following when word of the affair spread. Naomi read about it all with a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. She hadn't wanted to destroy anyone. She just wanted justice. But justice had a way of creating collateral damage. Now, sitting in her new condo's living room, Naomi was building something different. Something better. The condo was small but bright, with large windows overlooking the city. She had decorated it herself, soft blues and grays, comfortable furniture, plants that she was learning to keep alive. Everything in this space was hers. No memories of Preston. No reminders of betrayal. Just possibility. "This place looks amazing," Simone said, arriving with coffee and pastries for their Sunday morning tradition. "I can't believe how different you look." "Different how?" "Happy. Lighter. Like you're not carrying the weight of the world anymore." Naomi accepted the coffee gratefully. "I'm working on it. Therapy helps." She had started seeing a counselor 2 months ago on Rebecca's recommendation. Dr. Patricia was kind but direct, helping Naomi process the trauma of Preston's betrayal without letting her wallow in victim mentality. "You survived something terrible," Dr. Patricia had told her. "Now you get to decide what comes next. Do you want to stay angry? Or do you want to build something new?" Naomi chose building. She threw herself into work with renewed energy. Her boss noticed. 3 weeks ago, she was promoted to Vice President of Financial Analysis, a position that came with a significant raise, a better office, and leadership opportunities she had only dreamed of before. "You're flourishing," her boss had said during the promotion meeting. "Whatever changes you've made in your personal life, they're working. You're sharper, more confident, more decisive than ever." Naomi didn't tell him that the changes involved divorcing a criminal. She just smiled and thanked him for the opportunity. With the new salary and the settlement money from Preston, Naomi's financial situation had completely transformed. She paid off the credit card debt Preston accumulated in her name. She rebuilt her savings account. She even started investing, working with a financial advisor to plan for her future. The irony wasn't lost on her. Preston tried to leave her broke, and instead, his crimes had made her more financially secure than she had ever been during their marriage. "Have you heard from Preston at all?" Simone asked, biting into a croissant. "Not directly. He's allowed to send letters from prison, but I've told the facility to return any mail from him unopened." "Good. You don't owe him anything." "His mother called me last month." Simone's eyes widened. "What did she want?" "To ask if I would visit him. She said he's struggling in prison, that he's sorry that he asks about me." "Please tell me you said no." "I said no. Kindly but firmly." I wished her well and asked her to stop calling. Naomi looked out her window at the city below. "I don't want him in my life anymore. Not even as a distant memory I have to manage." "What about Candace?" "Haven't thought about her in months." "Why?" "She's apparently working at a grocery store now. Lost everything in her divorce. Someone from my gym saw her and said she looks rough." Naomi felt a small stab of something, not quite sympathy but not satisfaction either. "I'm sure that's hard for her." "You're too kind. She helped Preston try to destroy you." "I know. But holding on to anger about her doesn't help me. It just keeps me tied to that whole situation." Naomi sipped her coffee. "The best revenge isn't destroying them. It's building a life so good that they become irrelevant." Simone smiled. "Look at you, all wise and evolved." "I'm trying. Some days are easier than others." The truth was, Naomi still had hard days. Days when she wondered if she could have saved her marriage. Days when the betrayal felt fresh and painful. Days when loneliness hit her hard. But those days were becoming less frequent. More manageable. She had built a routine. Therapy on Wednesdays, gym on Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday coffee with Simone. She joined a book club at the library. Started taking a cooking class on Tuesday evenings. Made friends with her neighbors. Slowly, carefully she was building a life. Her phone rang. An unknown number. Naomi almost didn't answer, wary of another attempt from Preston to contact her. But something made her pick up. "Is this Naomi Foster?" A professional-sounding woman's voice. "Yes. My name is Angela Torres. I'm a literary agent. I came across an article about your case, the financial fraud and embezzlement. I was wondering if you'd be interested in writing a book about your experience." Naomi's heart skipped. "A book? Your story is compelling. A woman who discovers her husband's betrayal and systematically builds a case against him rather than reacting emotionally. It's a narrative about empowerment, about using intelligence instead of anger. I think a lot of women would find it helpful." "I don't know. It's so personal. Think about it. You don't have to use real names. You could help other women who are facing similar situations. Teach them how to protect themselves." After the call, Naomi sat with the idea. A book about her experience. About discovering Preston's crimes. About the investigation, the evidence gathering, the strategic planning. Not about revenge. About survival. About choosing your battles and fighting smart. What do you think? She asked Simone. I think it's perfect. You could help so many women. Teach them not to just accept betrayal but to document it, protect themselves, fight back legally. It would mean reliving everything. But on your terms. Telling your story instead of letting it be told for you. Naomi thought about all the women who might be in her situation right now. Discovering betrayal. Feeling lost. Not knowing what to do. If she could help even one person navigate that darkness, wouldn't it be worth it? I'll do it, she decided. I'll write the book. Simone hugged her. I'm so proud of you. Look how far you've come. That evening, alone in her condo, Naomi opened her laptop and started typing. Chapter 1, The Discovery. 3 months before my husband took me to dinner to humiliate me, I found out he was planning to destroy my life. The words flowed easily, the story pouring out. Not with anger or bitterness but with clarity. She wrote about the pain, yes, but also about the strategy. The planning. The moment she decided to fight back smart instead of loud. Hours passed. When Naomi finally looked up from her computer, it was dark outside. She had written 20 pages. 20 pages of her story. Her survival. Her victory. She saved the document and titled it, The Best Revenge, How I Fought Back Against Financial Fraud and Won. Preston wanted to break her. Instead, he gave her a story worth telling. And Naomi was going to tell it to the world. The professional conference was in Chicago. 3 days of workshops, networking, and presentations about financial risk management. Naomi had hesitated to register. A year ago, she would have convinced Preston to come with her, would have felt anxious about traveling alone. Now, walking through the hotel lobby with her rolling suitcase, she felt only excitement. The conference was well attended, full of people from her industry. Naomi recognized some faces, met new colleagues, exchanged business cards. During the lunch break on the second day, she sat at a table with other VPs from various firms. That's when she met Adrian. He was tall, with an easy smile and kind eyes. He introduced himself as a financial consultant specializing in fraud prevention, which made Naomi almost laugh at the irony. That's a timely specialty, she said. Unfortunately, yes. Financial fraud is becoming more sophisticated. I help companies implement better safeguards. He tilted his head, studying her. You look familiar. Have we met before? I don't think so. Wait, are you Naomi Foster? From Harrison Corp. Naomi's guard went up slightly. Yes. How do you know my name? Your presentation this morning on risk assessment was excellent. Really insightful approach to portfolio management. He smiled. I wasn't trying to be creepy. Your name was on the conference program. Naomi relaxed. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch which session you're presenting. Tomorrow afternoon. Preventing Internal Financial Fraud. Incredibly boring title, slightly less boring content. Naomi found herself smiling. I'll try to attend if my schedule allows. They chatted through lunch about work, the conference, industry trends. Adrian was easy to talk to, funny without trying too hard. When lunch ended, he stood and offered his card. If you're ever in need of a consultant on fraud prevention, give me a call. Or even just if you want to grab coffee and talk shop. Naomi accepted the card. I might take you up on that. That evening, back in her hotel room, Naomi looked at Adrian's card. Part of her wanted to throw it away. She wasn't ready to date. Wasn't ready to trust anyone new. But another part of her, the part that was learning to be brave again, thought maybe coffee wouldn't hurt. She texted Simone, I met someone at the conference. Just friendly, nothing serious. But he was nice. Simone's response was immediate. Tell me everything. Over the next 2 days, Naomi kept running into Adrian. In the hallway between sessions. At the evening networking reception. In line at the hotel coffee shop. Are you following me? She joked the third time. Maybe you're following me, he countered, grinning. But seriously, would you want to grab dinner tonight? Nothing fancy, just 2 colleagues eating food and talking about things other than risk management. Naomi hesitated. Then thought, why not? It's just dinner. Sure. That sounds nice. They went to a small Italian restaurant near the hotel. The conversation flowed easily. Adrian was from Portland, had been in consulting for 8 years, loved hiking and terrible sci-fi movies. He asked about her life, and Naomi found herself sharing, carefully, about her recent divorce. It's been a tough year, she admitted. But I'm coming through the other side. Adrian nodded sympathetically. Divorce is brutal. I went through one 5 years ago. It gets better, I promise. What happened with yours? If you don't mind me asking. We got married too young. Wanted different things. It ended amicably, we're actually still friends. She remarried last year and I was happy for her. The ease with which he talked about his ex-wife surprised Naomi. No bitterness. No anger. Just acceptance that it hadn't worked out. That's mature of you, she said. Took some time to get there. At first I was a mess. Angry, sad, questioning everything. But eventually I realized holding on to that stuff was only hurting me. She moved on, I needed to move on too. They talked late into the evening. When the restaurant started closing, they walked back to the hotel slowly, neither wanting the conversation to end. At the elevator, Adrian turned to her. I really enjoyed tonight, Naomi. Would it be okay if I called you sometime? Maybe we could do this again when we're not at a conference. Naomi's immediate instinct was to say no, to protect herself. But she pushed past the fear. I'd like that. But I should be honest, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I'm still processing my divorce, still figuring out who I am without my ex-husband. That's completely fair. How about we start as friends? Get coffee sometimes, talk about life, no pressure. Friends sounds good. They exchanged numbers and Naomi felt lighter walking to her room. Not because she was falling for someone new, but because she had taken a risk and it felt okay. The conference ended the next day. Naomi flew home feeling energized. She had made professional connections, learned new strategies, and maybe, just maybe, started a new friendship. Over the next month, Adrian kept his word. He called once a week just to check in. They talked about work, about life, about nothing important. Sometimes he made her laugh so hard she had tears in her eyes. You should come to Portland sometime, he suggested during one call. I could show you around. We have great hiking trails. I haven't been hiking in years. It's basically just walking but with better views. You'd love it. Naomi surprised herself by saying, maybe I will. 2 weeks later, she booked a weekend trip to Portland. Simone was thrilled. You're going to visit a man in another city? This is huge. It's not like that. We're just friends. Friends who talk on the phone every week and make plans to spend a weekend together? Okay, when you say it like that, it sounds like more than friends. But I'm not ready for anything serious. You don't have to be ready for serious. Just be ready for nice. In Portland, Adrian met her at the airport with coffee and a smile. He had planned a weekend of easy activities, hiking in Forest Park, visiting bookstores, trying local restaurants. Nothing too intense. Nothing that felt like he was trying too hard. I want you to see why I love this city, he said. But at your pace. If anything feels like too much, just say so. They hiked through green trails, talking and laughing. Adrian told stories about his childhood, his consulting disasters, his terrible attempts at learning guitar. Naomi found herself sharing more about her marriage than she had with anyone except Simone and Dr. Patricia. He really did all that? Adrian asked after she explained Preston's crimes. That's beyond awful. It was. But I got through it. And now I'm here hiking in Portland with a friend and it feels good. I'm glad you're here too. On the last evening, they sat on a restaurant patio overlooking the city. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and pink. Can I ask you something? Adrian said carefully. Sure. Do you think you'll ever be able to trust someone again? After everything your ex did? Naomi considered the question. I don't know. I want to. But trust is hard now. Every time I start to open up to someone, I remember how badly it went last time. That makes sense. For what it's worth, I'm not trying to rush you into anything. I just like spending time with you. However much or little you're comfortable with. Thank you for that. For being patient. Adrian reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Flying home, Naomi felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Not hope that Adrian would be her next great love. It was too soon for that. But hope that maybe she could open her heart again someday. That Preston's betrayal didn't have to define her forever. Dr. Patricia had told her, healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong, some days you'll feel broken. Both are okay. Both are part of the journey. Naomi was learning to accept both. The strong days and the broken days. The moments of hope and the moments of fear. And slowly, carefully she was building something new. Not because she needed someone else to complete her. But because she was learning she could be complete on her own and still choose to let someone in. That was power. That was freedom. And it felt like the beginning of something beautiful. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, forwarded from Naomi's old address. She recognized Preston's handwriting on the envelope immediately. Her first instinct was to throw it away unread. But curiosity won out. She opened it carefully, almost expecting something horrible inside. The letter was handwritten on prison stationery. Preston's normally confident script looked shaky, uncertain. Naomi, I know you probably won't read this. I know I don't deserve your attention or your forgiveness. But I'm writing anyway because I need you to understand something. I made terrible mistakes. I hurt you in ways I can't take back. Every day I'm in here, I think about what I did and I hate myself for it. Candace manipulated me. I know that sounds like an excuse, but it's true. She made me feel important, special, and I was stupid enough to believe her. She pushed me to take the money, to hide things from you, to plan that awful dinner. I'm not saying any of this is her fault. I made my own choices. But I want you to know I was weak and stupid, not evil. I loved you, Naomi. Part of me still does. And if there's any chance, any possibility, that you could forgive me, I would spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I know 18 months seems like a long time, but it will pass. When I get out, could we maybe talk? Just coffee, nothing serious. I just want to see you, to tell you in person how sorry I am. Please write back. Even if it's just to tell me you hate me. I need to hear from you. I need to know I haven't destroyed everything completely. Love always, Preston. Naomi read the letter twice, feeling her anger build with each word. The audacity. The manipulation. Blaming Candace while asking for forgiveness. Acting like 18 months in prison somehow balanced out theft, fraud, and betrayal. And love always? He didn't know the meaning of the word. She called Rebecca immediately. He wrote to me. From prison. Do you want me to send a cease and desist letter? I don't know. Is that necessary? Probably not. Prison mail is monitored. He can't harass you. But if it makes you feel better, I can have my office send something official telling him to stop contacting you. Let me think about it. Naomi showed the letter to Dr. Patricia during her next therapy session. How does this make you feel? Dr. Patricia asked. Angry. He's trying to manipulate me again. Blaming Candace, playing the victim, asking me to wait for him. Do you feel any temptation to respond? No. Well, Naomi paused. Part of me wants to write back and tell him exactly what I think of him. But I know that's what he wants. Any response, even angry, gives him attention. So what will you do? Nothing. Silence is the best response. He can sit in prison wondering if I even read his letter. But Preston didn't stop at one letter. Over the next month, 3 more arrived. Each one more desperate than the last. The second letter talked about how hard prison was, how he didn't belong there, how he was suffering. The third letter tried a different approach, reminiscing about good times they had together. Remember our first vacation? Remember when we adopted that stray cat? Remember when we were happy? The fourth letter was angry. If Naomi wasn't going to respond, at least she could show some basic human decency. He was sorry. What more did she want? Did she plan to punish him forever? Naomi saved all the letters in a folder and didn't respond to any of them. Then Preston's mother called again. Naomi, please. I'm begging you as a mother. My son is falling apart in there. He needs hope. He needs to know someone still cares about him. I'm sorry for what you're going through, Naomi said carefully. But I'm not the person to help Preston. He made choices that hurt me deeply. I've moved on with my life. He made mistakes. He committed crimes. Multiple crimes. Against me and against your family's company. I understand you love him, but I can't be his emotional support. Just one visit. Just once. Please. No. I'm sorry, but no. I need you to stop calling me about this. You're heartless. After everything our family did for you. Naomi hung up. Her hands shook with anger and guilt. She knew Preston's mother was suffering, knew this was hard for his whole family. But their suffering wasn't her responsibility to fix. A week later, Preston's lawyer called Rebecca. My client would like to propose a modification to the divorce settlement. What kind of modification? Rebecca asked suspiciously. He's willing to accept responsibility for all the debt and return all of Miss Foster's money as agreed. In exchange, he'd like her to write a letter to the parole board supporting early release. Rebecca called Naomi immediately. He wants you to help get him out of prison early. Naomi laughed, actually laughed. Is he serious? Apparently. His lawyer says Preston has been a model prisoner, taken accountability classes, wants to make amends. He thinks a letter from you would help his case. Absolutely not. He can serve his full sentence. That's what I'll tell them. 2 weeks before the divorce was scheduled to be finalized in court, Preston showed up at Naomi's office building. Security called her. There's a man in the lobby claiming to be your husband. Says he needs to see you urgently. Preston Foster? That's what his ID says. He's supposed to be in prison. He says he's out on a furlough for a family emergency. Naomi's heart raced. Please escort him out of the building. If he refuses, call the police. I have a restraining order. Actually, she didn't have a restraining order yet, but she would by the end of the day. Security removed Preston from the building. Naomi watched from her office window as he stood on the sidewalk, looking up at the building like he could see her. She called Rebecca and filed for an emergency restraining order. By evening it was approved. Preston was ordered to stay at least 100 feet away from Naomi, her workplace, and her home. That night, lying in bed, Naomi felt the fear creeping back. Preston was supposed to be locked away. How did he get out? Why was he showing up at her office? She called Adrian, needing to hear a friendly voice. Hey, you okay? You sound stressed. She told him about Preston's letter, the phone calls, the appearance at her office. That's harassment, Adrian said firmly. You got the restraining order? Yes. But Adrian, what if he doesn't stop? What if he keeps coming after me? Then you document everything and go back to court. You press charges if he violates the order. Naomi, you're not helpless here. You have legal protection. I know. I thought this was over. I thought I was free of him. You are free of him. He's just having trouble accepting that. But his inability to let go doesn't change your reality. You've moved on. You're building a new life. He's stuck in the past, and that's his problem. Naomi took a deep breath. You're right. Thank you. Anytime. Do you want me to come stay with you for a few days? I can work remote. Naomi paused. Part of her wanted to say yes, wanted Adrian's presence and support. But another part knew she needed to handle this herself. Thank you, but I'm okay. Simone's here. And I have security in my building. Okay. But call me if anything changes. Even just to talk. The next morning, Naomi learned that Preston's furlough was actually him being released early for good behavior. His lawyer had negotiated a reduction in his sentence, down to 12 months served instead of 18. Rebecca was furious. They should have notified us about the release. You had a right to know. What happens now? He has 3 years probation. If he violates the restraining order, he goes back to prison. The divorce finalization hearing is in 2 days. He'll be served notice that you have a protective order against him. The divorce hearing was quick and procedural. Preston didn't attend, his lawyer represented him. The judge reviewed the settlement agreement, confirmed both parties accepted the terms, and signed the final decree. Your marriage is officially dissolved, the judge said. Miss Foster, you're free to resume using your maiden name if you wish. I do, Naomi said firmly. Walking out of the courthouse, Naomi felt lighter than she had in months. It was really, truly over. She was no longer Mrs. Preston Foster. She was Naomi Brooks again, the name she was born with, the name she should have never given up. That evening, she celebrated with Simone and Adrian, who had flown in for the occasion. To freedom, Simone toasted. To new beginnings, Adrian added. To never settling for less than I deserve again, Naomi finished. They clinked glasses and Naomi smiled. Preston could send all the letters he wanted. Could beg his mother to call. Could show up at her office and get escorted away by security. None of it mattered anymore. She was free. Legally, financially, emotionally free. And she was never looking back. 1 year after that disastrous dinner at Meridian, Naomi stood backstage at a hotel ballroom, smoothing down her emerald dress. The fabric was silk, the cut was elegant, and she felt beautiful. More importantly, she felt powerful. Tonight, she was the keynote speaker at the annual Women's Financial Empowerment Gala. The organization invited her after reading her book, The Best Revenge: How I Fought Back Against Financial Fraud and Won. The book had been published 6 months ago. It became an unexpected bestseller, resonating with women who had experienced financial abuse and those who wanted to protect themselves from it. Naomi shared her story using changed names and some altered details to illustrate how to gather evidence, protect assets, and fight back legally. The response had been overwhelming. Women reached out daily to thank her, to share their own stories, to ask for advice. Publishing houses wanted a follow-up book. Financial literacy organizations wanted her to speak at events. And tonight was the biggest speaking engagement yet. 2 minutes, a stagehand called. Naomi took a deep breath. Public speaking still made her nervous, but she had been doing more of it lately. Learning to share her story. Learning to use her experience to help others. In the audience, she knew Simone was sitting in the third row, beaming with pride. And next to Simone was Adrian. Adrian, who had flown in from Portland for this event. Adrian, who had become one of the most important people in her life over the past year. They weren't rushing into anything, both had agreed to take things slow. But slowly their friendship had grown into something deeper. Something real. He made her laugh. He respected her boundaries. He listened when she talked about her fears without trying to fix everything. And he had his own life, his own interests, his own strength. He didn't need her to complete him. He just wanted to be with her. That's what a real partnership looks like, Dr. Patricia had told her. Two whole people choosing to build something together, not two broken people trying to fix each other. The announcer's voice carried through the speakers. Please welcome our keynote speaker, New York Times best-selling author Naomi Brooks. Naomi walked onto the stage, blinking against the bright lights. The ballroom was packed, over 300 people all standing and applauding. She reached the podium and waited for the applause to die down. Thank you, she said, her voice steady. A year and a half ago I was standing in a different place. Not physically but emotionally. I had just discovered that my husband had been stealing from me, lying to me, and planning to humiliate me publicly before filing for divorce. The room went quiet, everyone leaning forward. I was devastated, heartbroken, terrified about my future. But I was also angry. And I made a decision in that moment that changed everything. I decided to fight back, not with drama or revenge fantasies, but with documentation, strategy, and legal action. Naomi shared her story, carefully avoiding identifying details but keeping the emotional truth intact. She talked about hiring a private investigator, about gathering evidence, about the dinner where her husband brought his mistress to humiliate her, not knowing she had a camera recording everything. I could have made a scene that night, Naomi continued. I could have cried, thrown wine, screamed. That's what he expected. That's what he wanted, for me to look crazy while he looked like the reasonable one. Instead I stayed calm. I let him think he was winning. And then I used every bit of evidence I had collected to make sure he faced real consequences. She talked about the divorce settlement, the criminal charges, the restitution. But she focused more on the aftermath, on rebuilding her life, on therapy, on learning to trust again. The best revenge, Naomi said, echoing her book title, isn't destroying someone else. It's building a life so beautiful that the past becomes irrelevant. My ex-husband tried to break me. Instead he freed me. He pushed me to become stronger, smarter, more self-reliant than I ever was when we were together. She shared practical advice. How to protect your finances in a marriage, how to recognize signs of financial abuse, how to gather evidence if you suspect fraud, how to work with lawyers and investigators. But most importantly, Naomi concluded, I want you to know that you're not alone. If you're going through something similar, if you're feeling lost and scared and unsure of what to do, there is a way forward. You are stronger than you think. You deserve better than betrayal. And you have the power to fight back. The standing ovation was thunderous. Naomi stood at the podium, blinking back tears, overwhelmed by the response. After the speech, dozens of women approached her during the reception. They shared their own stories, thanked her for her courage, asked for advice. You saved my life, one woman said, tears streaming down her face. I read your book and realized I was in the same situation. I hired a lawyer, gathered evidence, and got out. Thank you. Naomi hugged her. You saved your own life. I just showed you it was possible. Later that evening, Naomi sat in the hotel bar with Simone and Adrian. The gala was over, the crowds had dispersed, and she was exhausted but happy. You were amazing up there, Adrian said, squeezing her hand. I can't believe how many people showed up, Naomi marveled. Your story resonates, Simone said. You're helping people. That's powerful. Naomi's phone buzzed. An email from her agent. Just got off the phone with a major publisher. They want to discuss a 3-book deal, continuation of your story plus a practical guide. Call me tomorrow. This is surreal, Naomi said, showing them the email. A year ago I was crying in your apartment, Simone. Now I'm writing books and giving speeches to hundreds of people. You earned this, Simone said firmly. You fought for this. Every bit of it. Adrian raised his glass. To Naomi, who turned her worst moment into something that helps thousands of people. They clinked glasses, and Naomi felt a surge of gratitude for these people who had supported her through everything. The next morning, Naomi woke early in her hotel room and checked her emails. Among the congratulations and speaking requests was a message from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read, Congratulations. Naomi opened it cautiously. Naomi, I saw a video of your speech last night. Someone posted it online. I watched the whole thing. I'm so proud of you. You've accomplished amazing things. I always knew you were special. I'm sorry for everything I did. I hope someday you can forgive me. Preston. Naomi stared at the email for a long moment. Then she hit delete without responding. Preston's opinion didn't matter anymore. His apologies, his pride, his regrets, none of it touched her life now. She opened her laptop and looked at the book proposal her agent wanted her to work on. A sequel focusing on rebuilding after betrayal. Practical steps for healing. Strategies for moving forward. Naomi started typing, the words flowing easily. Chapter 1. Life after betrayal. The day after my divorce was finalized, I woke up in my new apartment and realized something important. I was free. Not just legally free from my ex-husband, but free from the weight of his opinion, his approval, his existence. For the first time in years, I could build a life based entirely on what I wanted. Hours passed. When Naomi finally looked up from her computer, the sun was high in the sky. She had written 15 pages. Simone texted, "Breakfast in 20 minutes? Adrian wants to take us to this amazing cafe he found." Naomi saved her work and smiled. A year ago, she couldn't imagine feeling happy again. Couldn't imagine trusting someone new. Couldn't imagine a future that didn't include pain and betrayal. But here she was, writing books, giving speeches, building a career that made her proud, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about her, exploring a relationship with someone kind and patient and real. Preston had taken her to dinner to humiliate her, thinking he was destroying her life. Instead, he had freed her to build something better than she ever imagined possible. That evening, Naomi stood on the hotel balcony, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of orange and pink. Adrian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked softly. "How far I've come. How different my life is now. Do you ever regret it? The divorce, the legal fight, all of it?" Naomi turned to face him. "Not for a second. That marriage was slowly killing who I was. Preston's betrayal, as horrible as it was, forced me to fight for myself, to remember my worth, to build a life on my own terms. I'm glad you did, because this life looks really good on you." Naomi smiled. "It feels good too." Somewhere across town, Preston was living in a small apartment, working a minimum wage job, facing the consequences of his choices. His family had cut him off. His reputation was destroyed. His future was limited by his criminal record. But Naomi didn't think about him anymore. Didn't wonder about his life. Didn't care if he was suffering or happy or sorry. He had become exactly what she told him he would be that night at the restaurant. Irrelevant. And Naomi had become exactly what she promised herself she would be. Free. The best revenge, she had learned, wasn't about destroying your enemy. It was about building a life so beautiful, so full, so complete that your enemy became nothing more than a footnote in your story. A brief chapter you survived and moved past. A reminder of your strength, not your weakness. And as Naomi looked out at the city, holding Adrian's hand, thinking about the book she was writing and the lives she was helping and the future she was building, she knew one thing for certain. She had won. Not because Preston lost, but because she had chosen to survive, to thrive, to transform her pain into power. And that was the sweetest victory of all.